أعوذ بالله من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين ولا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وأجل فرجه.
ثم السلام على آله الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين المظلومين ولعنة الله على أعدائهم الأجمعين إلى يوم الدين. صلوات.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وأجل فرجه.
رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي. قال الله سبحانه وتعالى في كتابه المجيد وفرقانه الحميد بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والضحى والليل إذا سجى ما ودعك ربك وما كلا وللآخرة خير لك من الأولى ولسوف يعطيك ربك فترضى. صدق الله العظيم. صلوات.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وأجل فرجه.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Now we've been looking at the awesome words of Abu Abdullah when on the day of Ashura he said, Ridam bi qadaihi wa tasliman li amri. Okay? I accept what he has intended and I am at peace with his orders. And we talked about how this was at a time when there was nobody there and he's got a child pinned to his shoulder. And the topic we were looking at was, amongst my chaos, or in the middle of my chaos, there was you. And yesterday we looked at the focus of the 2 chapters of the Quran that literally teach us about life. So we started off yesterday with Surah Al-Duha, Surah number 93. I'm going to sort of go over it very quickly in a short way so we understand what it's about, okay? So Surah number 93, I said, was revealed at a time when the Prophet was very, very distressed. So he has a period of time when there is revelation and then suddenly no revelation. And in the children's words, he waited and he waited and he waited. Some say 10 days, 20, 30, 40. Now this is his goal. This is the love of his life, which is how it should be for us too. And there's nobody, and there's people taunting him, abusing him, telling him, okay, so what happens to those clever words you had? What happened to that God you had? He's abandoned you. And he has to sustain all that. And then Surah Al-Duha is revealed. So yesterday we looked at it, and I'm going to put it in a short form to you. So 11 ayat, 4 sections. You good with that? 11 ayat, 4 sections. The first section was 2 oaths, Duha and Layli Idha Saja. So Duha was this activity during the daytime when the sun is not so, it's bright, but it doesn't burn you. It's not harsh, it's soothing, yet there's a lot of activity. And the night when it's dark. So if we were to apply it to ourselves, there are times when things will be going really hunky-dory, and then there will be times of utter silence, but they're all part of growth. Now we look at the other three sections. So the first section after that means the second one, talks about trust. And this is what our whole series is about. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Ma wadda'aka rabbuka wa ma kala. Your Rabb did not say a beautiful goodbye to you. Neither have you outlived your usefulness. Whatever age you and I are at, wherever we are, Allah is saying, I will never leave you. I'm the constant in your life. This is trust in Him. Then He says, you have to help me along this way because you're with me. وَلَلْآخِرَةُ خَيْرٌ لَكَ مِنَ Ula. What is to come is always better than what was before. And we talked about this, take lessons from the past, but always look forward to the future. And finally, وَلَسَوْفَ يُعْطِيكَ رَبُّكَ فَتَرْضَى. We will give you that which will make you incredibly happy. But I need to know what I want. Quran again, Surah number 14, ayah 34. وَأَتَاكُمْ مَا كُلِّ سَأَلْتُمُهُ. We give you whatever you ask for. But Baqarah says, وَلِكُلِّ وِجْهَةٌ هُوَ مُوَلِّيهَا فَاسْتَبِقُوا الْخَيْرَاتِ. Every human being has a goal. If you and I don't have macro or micro goals, and somebody says, what do you want in life? What do you say? When they say hajat, what do you say? Don't tell me. But do we say, I used to say this a lot. I used to say, 2.5 kids, a good bank balance, a flat on the River Thames, and George Clooney is my neighbor. And then he got married. But so he used to say, but anyway, here we go. So this trust needs to be there if I know what I want. So I need to sit down. You know, organizations go through, spend masses of money, lots of time to sit together and work out a statement that is the mission statement. That's what we need to do, okay? The third section is gratitude. Alam yajidka yatiman fa'awa, wa wajadaka dhalan fahada, wa wajadaka ailan fa'aghna. Did we not find you an orphan and gave you shelter? Did we not find you lost in the sense you didn't know how you would carry this responsibility, but we found you a way, you made it conducive for people to find you? Did we not find you in need? So we got financial resources, emotional resources, and these were provided by Khadija. But in your and my life, if we look at our past, where we were as this helpless little child who couldn't even go to the bathroom, couldn't talk or walk, and look at us now. We're independent. We have so much. So there's gratitude. Now, how do we express that gratitude? That's the last section of Surah Al-Duha. You with me? What's the last section of Surah Al-Duha? فَأَمَّا الْيَتِيمَ فَلَا تَقْهَرْ وَأَمَّا السَّائِلَ فَلَا تَنْهَرْ وَأَمَّا بِنِعْمَةِ رَبِّكَ فَحَدِّثْ. When you see the orphan, that means someone who has nobody, do not make them feel small. When somebody asks you, do not barrage them with so many questions that they feel they wish they'd never come to you if they ask you for help. And finally, what you have gone through, use it to inspire others. So the last section is, the goal in life is to be able to be useful to another human being. Inspire humanity. If you cannot do anything else, inspire them. Smile at them, hug them, do what you have to do. But bring them up. But today we're going to look at Inshira, because Duha and Inshira are like a group. You know, in Salah, you recite them without the Bismillah in between. Now, if I'm talking about it, there are 4 surahs that form a group. Duha, Inshira, Kawthar, and Nasr. I repeat again. Duha, Inshira, Kawthar, and Nasr. Again, I'll explain hopefully if I get some time to do that. But we're going to look at Inshira today. Now, the language in Surah Al-Inshira speaks about mountain climbing. Literally, it's like mountain climbing language. Okay? Sharah means to expand, means to make something easy, to be able to understand it. Maybe I will try and put it a bit easier. You know, if you make rotis, right? And you take this dough and you pull it, you expand it, right? And sometimes when you're making, I don't know, do you make samosas or not anymore? Sometimes you make them. My grandmother, when she used to make roti, she used to say you should be able to see through the dough. Oh, you didn't have those grandmothers, did you? Mine was phenomenal. There's really thin ones, really soft and thin. Shara is to expand something so it's transparent. That's what it means. So he says, Alam nashrah laka sadrak. Did we not expand your chest for you? Now look, this is mountain climbing. Have you ever been mountain climbing? Oh, thank God for that. Now if you haven't, if somebody told you you're going to climb that mountain and you look up and you think, seriously, that is what I'm going to climb? And your chest starts to tighten because you start looking at this massive thing. Even when you've got it, I told you I went deep sea diving. And it was quite nice when, you had the talks and you sat on the boat. But the moment they said they were going to throw you in, my goodness, I felt like everything had closed in. So here Allah is saying to the Prophet and then to us, He's telling the Prophet, this responsibility you have of transmitting the word of God to you and me, saying to inspire humanity, makes your chest tighten, but we have expanded it for you. So imagine life as climbing a mountain. Are you good with that? Alam nashrah laka sadrak. He's allowed you to expand your lungs so you can take more oxygen in, right? That's why when I sit here and I see you and I'm petrified, I say, Rabbi shrah li sadri. Expand my chest for me. Wayassir li amri. Make my task easy for me. Wahlul uqdatam min lisani. Untie the knot in my tongue. Yafqahu qawli. So they may understand what I am trying to say. It's tough. It's not easy. Okay, so here we go. Imagine this mountain climber. Now what happens? This mountain climber can't go on the mountain just like that. What do you need? You need supplies. And supplies means you have a heavy backpack on your back, don't you? So you're looking at the backpack, and then you're looking at the mountain, and you're thinking, really? So he says, وَوَضَعْنَا أَنْكَ وِزْرَكَ. It's so amazing. Wada'a is to take something from a high place and put it down. Wizr is a great burden, a burden that sometimes crushes you. That's why you and I, we have wazirs. You know wazirs, we have lawyers, right? Or we have people who will assist us when things are getting difficult. So he says, وَوَضَعْنَا أَنْكَ وِزْرَكَ. We gave you some help to put this burden down. Now you can see the help. I see Ali, I see nobody else, right? I see him as his help, but you see Khadija, you see Abu Talib, you see all these people say there. He's telling you and me, you will always find someone who will assist you climb the mountain of life. وَوَضَعْنَا أَنْكَ وِزْرَكَ. What did that thing do? الَّذِي أَنْكَذَ ظَهْرَكَ. It was weighing your back down. It was pushing you down so much that you were about to crack. So in life, when you feel that the responsibility is so much and you're about to crack, reach out to an Ahlul Bayti first, read the surah and know He will expand your chest for you. Should we start again? Alam nashrah laka sadrak wa wada'na anka wizrak alladhi ankadha dhahrak. Then what happens? Wa rafa'na laka dhikrak. And we will raise the reminder. Now the Quran is known as dhikr, the reminder. What was the Prophet's aim? To ensure that this Quran reached human beings so they would see it as a means to reach their full potential. He probably didn't know that there was a khoja like me who would just read and read and read and read. It was supposed to reach that height at the mountain. وَرَفَعْنَا لَكَ ذِكْرَكَ. It was to be raised. And I'm telling him, Ya Rasulullah, I just put it on the top shelf. You wanted to raise me so I would be on a mountain. I won't quote songs anymore, but I will. You raised me up. Have you heard it? Have you? Oh, thank God for that. Okay, so it's like that. That's what this Quran is supposed to do. It's supposed to raise you and me up. وَرَفَعْنَا لَكَ ذِكْرَكَ. Okay, so that's the first section. Now the second section. These are three questions. Alam nashrah laka sadrak wa wada'na anka wizrak. Still a question. Did we not expand your chest? Did we not get you somebody to assist you with your burden? Did we not raise that remembrance? Okay. Now we come to the next section, which is talking about hope or trust again. Okay. So you tell me what that's talking about. فَإِنَّ مَعَ الْأُسْرِ يُسْرًا. فَإِنَّ مَعَ الْأُسْرِ Yusra, inna ma'al usri yusra. He repeats it. So he's saying, with every single difficulty in life, co-joined is ease. If you have a difficulty, know Allah promises you that with every difficulty there is ease. You know, one of the most difficult times for a mom is childbirth. You know that? Because you don't know what's going to happen and who's going to be born. You may have seen 3D pictures of this thing that looks like a... Everybody thinks their babies are beautiful, right? Everybody. There's nobody doesn't think their babies are not beautiful. I've had 12. I have 5 who are alive. But so I know as well. And they look like a bit like screwed up Winston Churchill, you know, when they come out. But you say, oh my goodness, so beautiful. Okay, everybody thinks that. It's a difficult time. That child literally rips you apart. Yet, after that, there is ease, is there not? The most difficult time of your life. Yet there is 2 eases. He says, it's co-joined with ease. Innamal usri yusra. You know, in the Arabic language, usr is something like, it's like constipation. It's stuck inside you. It's like that. And then you know what happens after it all comes out. What do you feel? Really good. Okay. And yusran is smooth, easy movement. The reason why I tell you all this is that you don't forget. Sometimes some difficulty in life is stuck so badly, you don't know what to do with it. And he's telling you, don't worry. It's okay. It will be okay. Inna ma'al usri yusra, inna ma'al usri yusra. It's so phenomenal. I wish I could give you this reassurance. So now he says, you're free. You realize that with every difficulty, there are going to be 2 eases. The trust you have in him. Now what do? فَإِذَا فَرَغْتَ فَانْصَبْ. When you have become farig means when you are free of this one responsibility, don't sit down. Find another one. Don't say, done now. There's no such thing as retirement in Islam, by the way. 60 or 65 or 70 or no chilling and watching Pakistani plays. La. You have to be useful. You're all smiling at me, aren't you? Nobody said, okay, I've raised 5, they're now married, you know, I've got grandkids, I'm now going to sit and breathe. And then do what? He says, فَإِذَا فَرَغْتَ فَانْصَبْ. Start again. Strive for something else. And then how do I strive? What do I look at? وَإِلَىٰ رَبِّكَ فَارْغَبْ. Focus on your Rabb. Focus on to reach your full potential. It is phenomenal. So now let me put the 2 surahs together and try and say something that will work. So the first surah tells me, my daytime job is to be able to assist humanity. Is it not? What is my daytime job? To ensure that I make life easy for another human being in whatever vocation I've picked in life. It doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. Whatever vocation you picked, do something that'll make life easy for another person. If nothing else, smile at them. Okay? How do I energize myself for that? He said, talk to me at night. So if you want to remember these 2 surahs, remember Muzammil and Muddathir. Muddathir, daytime activity. Muzammil, nighttime activity. Now I also said that these 4 surahs were linked with Nasr and Kawthar. Do you remember? Okay. Inna a'tainaka Kawthar. What have we granted you? Kawthar. Who is Kawthar? Fatima. So when he says that soon, what was the Sawfa line? Come on, you got to help me. Wala sawfa yu'tika rabbuka fatarda. What did he give him? Fatima. He gave him Fatima. He gave him Kawthar. He gave Fatima to us too. We have the Ahlul Bayt. We have the Masumin. But today when I ask, and I've been listening to Majlis for 60 years, 61. I was in mother's womb for 9 months, okay? And if somebody asks me, who is the 9th Imam? Who is the 10th? Who was his mother? Is your Imam, is he not? Okay, forget about them. Hussein ibn Ali, Aba Abdullah. What was his life before Karbala? How will you divide his life? He lived for 56 years. What did he do in the first 6? Do you divide it into 6, 26, 36? We'll talk about that tomorrow. Right now, you and I need to understand, if you were given Fatima, surely we need to know what this gift is, should we not? And what is Nasr? إِذَا جَاءَ نَصْرُ اللَّهِ وَالْفَتْحُ وَرَأَيْتَ النَّاسَ يَدْخُلُونَ فِي دِينِ اللَّهِ أَفْوَاجًا. Then what? فَسَبِّحْ بِحَمْدِ رَبِّكَ وَاسْتَغْفِرْ. So he's telling me how to talk to divinity. فَسَبِّحْ. What does fasabbih mean? Declare his perfection. Hamd, do gratitude and praise. And finally, do istighfar. These are the 4 most phenomenal chapters of the Quran. They're short. You and I recite them all the time. When these were revealed, the Prophet kept on telling his companions, put them in your salah. Read them in your salah. I go back to me as a Khoja. In the first rakat, maybe Qadr. In the second rakat, Ikhlas. Maybe sometimes Kawthar. But these two we need to learn, Duha and Inshirah. All of us will go through times when we suffer, when we hurt, when we need, when things are difficult and we don't know what to say. Read these two surahs. Try them. There can't be no downside. There's only an upside to it. And if he promises relief, then if it's good enough for the Prophet, it's good enough for me. Okay. But today, I need to spend some time to talk about one of the most phenomenal personalities of Karbala. One who actually lived Duha and Inshirah. I cannot find any other personality. The moment you hear Abbas, my goodness, something inside you stirs. I remember as a child, my father died when I was 10. But I remember throughout my life, he would tell me, I have named you Ummulbanin because I never want you to forget Abbas. I didn't understand then. But today, the name Abbas stirs something in me. So let's look at him first. Known as Abul Fadl. Abbas comes from the Arabic word Abasa. There's a surah of the Quran, surah number 80, which is Abasa. And you know what Abasa means? It means he frowned. But not frowned that much that you could see, frowned so there were wrinkles on the forehead. It's not complete frowning. So if you have an Abbas that frowns a bit, you know why, yes? But this Abbas was named Abbas, so he would frown at the enemies of God. This Abbas would frown at the enemies of Hussein. That's why he was called Abbas. He was a dua of Imam Ali. So you have Imam Ali asking his brother, Aqil, who is a genealogist. And he says, Aqil, I am looking for a family. And look, there are messages in here. Subtle messages that you need to understand, okay? So I'm finding a woman from a family in whose progeny, or in whose genes, there is bravery and righteousness. And Aqil said, come back after a month. It's not easy to find someone, okay? Many a times when people come and they're telling me, mother-in-laws, I've been picking on them so much. That's because I'm one, okay? So when they tell me, my mother-in-law, I can love my husband to bits, but God, the mother. You haven't heard that, have you? No, okay, I do. So they tell me, God, the mother. And I tell them that one day, that person whom you don't like will appear in your house as this little child, and you will have to love her. All her traits included. You know that? All the annoying habits will be in there. So if I were you, I'd start loving her now. Okay? So this is why when Imam Ali goes, and he's told there is a family of Kalbiya in whose house there is bravery and there's righteousness, and they have a daughter called Fatima. When he marries Fatima, she refuses to be called Fatima. She says, Ya Ali, you will not call me Fatima because your children will remember their mother. I do not wish that. And so he calls her Ummulbanin, mother of children or mother of sons. This is an aspiration. In life, when you have an aspiration or a dua, you must believe it's at the door. That's what dua and inshirah are about. But the moment you start doubting, there is a problem. That is why the Prophet said, when you do dua, know the answer is at the door. In Hadith Qudsi, Allah says, I am who you believe me to be. You have doubts, He will have doubts. We place Allah at the pedestal you and I want to. And Ali calls her Ummulbanin, and she has 4 sons. Phenomenal 4 sons. So, do we know the names of her 4 sons? Abbas, Abdullah, Uthman, and Aun. Now these are all present in Karbala. This is phenomenal. Now I remember when my son went to Karbala, he went before me, and God, he was at the Haram, and he called me, and he said, Mama, there is something written here that you wrote for me when I was a child. And I didn't know. He said, Mama, I don't know what it meant, but I gave him a horse. You know, kids like the little animals. And I gave him a horse, and I'd written that on it because my mother used to tell me about it. So he said, Mama, it's written on there, and it's probably the greatest accolade that Imam Hussein gave to Hazrat Abbas. Irkab bi nafsi ya akhi. Irkab means Right. Binafsi, my life be sacrificed for you. Who is this? A masoom telling a non-masoom. Ya akhi, my brother. It's phenomenal. I'd like you to remember that. Irqab binafsi, ya akhi. He said, Mama, it's on the door. I said, yeah. And it's amazing how these things come back. Let's move a little bit forward. Abbas opens his eyes to see Hussein. You know where I'm going. The first person he sees when he opens his eyes is Hussein. It's phenomenal. His mom tells him as he's growing up, you will never call him Akhi. Never. You will never call him Akhi. You will always call him Sayyidi. You will never call him my brother. You will always call him my master. Even when he wanted to get married, go to Hussein, because he marries Lubaba, and maybe one day we will go through the history of Hazrat Abbas. He's described as Rajulun Jamilun Kal Jabalil Azim wa Tawdil Jasim. These are books of hadith describe him. As a handsome man, a tall, towering figure like a mountain who inspired hope, an unshakable mountain with a soft, massive heart. It's literally describing inshira and duha. I'd like you to see that. So you and I can aspire to be these mountains that people can lean on, but inside there are soft Milky Way hearts. That's Abbas. That's what we inspire to be, right? He was a warrior, my goodness. All his life, he knew the dua of his father. The dua of Ali was that he would be someone who would assist Hussein. Let's go to 40 after Hijrah. Let's go to the 19th, 20th of Ramadan. Okay? So you can imagine. There's Abbas, all the children, Hassan, Hussein, Zainab, Kulthum. And Imam Ali is lying on this bed. These are his last moments. He calls Imam Hassan and he gives all the children's hands into the hand of Imam Hassan. And all the children he hugs and he kisses them on their neck, especially Hussein. In the corner, there is a woman who is crying. Ummulbanin is sobbing. And Ali says, Ummulbanin, why are you crying? Ali is still here. And she says, what about my Abbas? You haven't called my Abbas. Ali calls Hussein. He gives Abbas's hands into Hussein and he kisses the hands of Abbas. Ummulbanin says, does my child not deserve a hug and a kiss on his neck? And Ali says, one day these hands, Ummulbanin, will come in use to my Hussein. I'm going to take you to Karbala. Now you can imagine the buzzing on the night of Ashura. There's zikr going on. There are people talking to their children. There's all sorts of things going on. But in one tent there is the cries and the sobbing of a woman. Her name's Kulthum. Abbas is walking up and down and he hears these cries. It is his sister. He goes in and he says, what is the matter? What's wrong? She says, I have no one to represent me on the battlefield. Nobody, I do not have any children. He says, I will be the one who will be sacrificed for you. When you think of Abbas, think of Kulthum. Think of her. Now let's go to the day of Ashura. It's a day for which Hazrat Abbas was waiting. When you and I talk about what we're waiting for, the dua we want, our goals that we want that I just talked about, you've got to come back to Abbas. His goal was only to assist Hussein. Every 2 seconds on the day of Ashura, he says, I wish to go to the battlefield. And Hussein says, no. He doesn't say a word. He's been sharpening his sword. Hussein says, no. His whole life he trained. That was his training. He trained to be a soldier, to be a warrior, to be someone who will assist Hussein. Siffin, my goodness. He goes out there at the age of 11, one who protected Hussein. There were people who noted, they would tell Ali, in Siffin there was this brave man who kept on standing behind Hussein. That is my Abbas. He protects Hussein. Yet Imam says no.
And then a little girl comes and she says, "Uncle, we're thirsty. We're so thirsty. Can you get us some water?" And he goes to Imam and he says, "Sayyidi, she wants water." Imam says, "I cannot refuse. I cannot refuse. Irqab bi nafsi ya akhi." You know what? When I think of this phrase, I'm sure Imam knew this was the last time he would see his protector. Can you imagine what he must have thought? What went through his head? I'm now going to paraphrase. I'm going to paraphrase like I always do in the eyes of Sakina. So you imagine she's thirsty. There's thorns in her neck, her throat. All the children are looking up to her because they know that this is her uncle. He's taken the water bag. So she comes up to Fizza and she says, "Fizza, will you carry me on your shoulders? Will you take me to Tille Zainabiya so I can watch my uncle bring back water?" Hope that we have in Inshira and Duha is one of the greatest things you can give a human being. She knows, she has total trust that Abbas will bring her back some water. And you imagine this child. I'd like you to close your eyes and think of a child who knows water's gonna come. She watches the horse go. She watches him holding his flag because she knows that the flag is an indication of where he is. She tells the children, she gives them a commentary. "The flag has got to the river. My uncle has got there. Did I not tell you? Did I not say he is there?" He goes down to the Furat. He fills the water bag. He takes water in his hands. But then he's talking to his nafs. "Oh, nafs, how will you drink this water when Hussein has no water?" He throws the water bag. He gets back onto the horse. He knows he wants to get this water there. As he's trying to get the water back, somebody on a tree cuts off his left arm. He tries to hold the flag and the water bag because he knows Sakina is waiting. She sees the flag waver. She sees the alam waver. And she says, "It's okay. It's okay. He's just trying to dodge those people. That's why the alam is wavering." But then it falls. But she tells the children, "Don't worry. Maybe it was so heavy for him. Maybe it was heavy. He's holding the water bag. He's going to bring water just now." Another arm is cut. Abbas holds the water bag with his teeth. His only determination is to get the water to Sakina. And she says, "He's coming. I can see it. I can see his horse moving." But then there is an arrow through the water bag. That which he wanted to do has gone. And then Hurmala has an arrow through his eye. And Abbas falls to the ground. The horse stops. Sakina says, "It's okay. He'll come just now." He calls out, "Assalamu alayka ya Sayyidi." I remember a narration the Zakireen talk about when the people who announced the killing of Imam Hussein in Medina, they said, "Qad qutil al-Hussein." An old lady comes up and says, "How dare you say that? How dare you say Hussein was killed? Where was my Abbas?" And she was told, "Your Abbas was killed first." And they told her how he was killed. And she says, "Can I ask you one question?" She said, "I would sacrifice 1,000 Abbases, but without his arms, how did my Abbas get to the ground?" Imam runs to the battlefield saying, "Ya Ali." Was he calling Ali a father or his son? He was saying, "Al-an in kathara zahri." My back is broken and I have no strength in me. When he gets to Abbas, he puts his head on his lap and wipes the blood and he says, "Abbas, all your life you called me Sayyidi. call me akhi, call me brother. And Abbas says, Ya akhi, ya noor aini, ya shafiqi, the light of my eyes, my friend. And then he says, Sayyidi, do not take me back. Do not take me back. For how will I show my face to Sakina? There are two Babul Hawaijes. One is Imam Musa al-Qadim and one is Abbas. Sayyid Khouy writes that around the alam of Abbas there are angels waiting to take your requests amidst your tears. Raise your hands and ask Allah in the name of Abbas to grant you that which you aspire for. Sakina. And I just go back to her for 2 minutes. She's standing there when she realizes that her father said, Al-an in kathara zahri. She looks at the children and she says, Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. سيعلمون الذين ظلموا أي منقلب ينقلبون